I was not going to UFO conferences. I was going nowhere. I was just making money. That was my job, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
so when this happened to me, it came as a big surprise, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I was stressed out. I had anxiety from all of these experiences. I had
Oh,
anxiety from all the visions that I was having. By 2009 to 2011, I was receiving about 3 visions per day, and it was out of control because what I was seeing was very random. I was seeing tsunamis, earthquakes, and all of these events felt so real to me. But what I came to realize down the line was none of these events actually occurred in this timeline because I could not differentiate our timeline, our current timeline, from other timelines. Okay.
yeah.
So when all of this happened to me, I just realized that Zoe came from a galactic alliance of some kind. I didn't know what they were, I didn't know what they were doing. And I basically got involved in that gradually, getting acquainted with their existence simply based on what they could show me. And so I got in touch with my star family. I got in touch with my father, my mother. I got conversations with them, and my star brother as well. So I basically was able to interact with all of these people, and they were giving me and feeding me information as to what was their goal, the whole history. It was fascinating, and I just came to realize that the Galactic Alliance had the power to harness the source energy, the soul energy, and split it up. So they could splice it and then send off the soul energy onto other planets to have an experience. And I am one of these experiences on Earth. I'm a fraction of a soul from a Pleiadian being who basically volunteered to have this experience, very short period of time for them, on Earth, and to have human emotions, to just feel all the human emotions. And they are learning from that. That was my mission. That was my goal, nothing else. And then when my star brother came to see me unexpectedly and against protocol, he broke protocol to come and see me. Everything changed for me because then my star family were not happy. They were saying, well, now that you're awake, your mission has changed, has evolved. And now you need to awake, or you need to awaken all the star seeds of this planet. That's a big task when I was just a businessman with no knowledge of any of this. And so I didn't know what to do with this. So I just gave it up. I just forgot about it. I just kept focusing on my business. And I didn't know what to do. But unfortunately for me, the idea of this stayed with me every day. So you have to
Yeah.
awaken the star seeds without manuals, without directions, and I kept hearing this every day, and it was very annoying. And so I just think, what can I do? What can I do to help? And so I started doing radio shows, and I thought, well, maybe if I share my story, maybe that might help people. So I felt good about it. I said, great, I can do that. I
Mm.
can still remain anonymous in a way. I was not really well known on radio shows, and I was still working for the company I started. And at that time, by 2014, I basically accepted partners. So I sold some of the shares of my business. I retained 20% shares. I became a director, chairman of the board, and a shareholder at the same time. So I retained all of that. And in 2016, when the message became stronger, I had to make a decision. And the decision was to resign as chairman of the board and dedicate my life to awaken the star seeds and do more of these interviews in a bigger way. And that's what I did. Or I could have just like pushed it away and kept earning, $500,000 a year on salary and then remain chairman of the board. I could have done that too. But I chose the harder path. Now, people call me stupid, but the thing
Yeah.
is, when I did that, I also lost friends. I had friends in the community, people that
Yeah.
looked at me as a leader in the industry. I won many awards, blah blah blah, all of this. But these friends could not understand my new energy because I became a different person. I talked
Yeah.
different, so
Everybody
differently.
asked, what happened to Sebastian?
Yeah,
What? Oh my
I
God.
lost friends who were like lawyers, accountants, insurance
Yeah.
brokers. None of these people knew and understood what I went through. So I became detached from them. They stayed away from me, and I made new friends. And I also lost my marriage in the process because my
Yeah.
wife basically thought, I don't recognize the man I married. It was all about making money. And she was belittling me in front of our friends because she was making fun of me because it was too embarrassing for her. So she
Yeah.
had a hard time dealing with this. And so our marriage didn't last after 20 years, but we basically just parted ways. And now I'm in a new relationship for 4 years now, and it's been great. I'm very happy, and my partner now is very supportive of what I'm doing daily. And she's the one who has actually gave me the idea of doing Terra Novelli Center for helping people to become more awake. So now I'm doing that full time. I'm doing interviews like this, and I'm also doing those
Yeah.
interviews elsewhere, and I'm doing Terra Novellis to help people. And I help them and I guide them through this process using remote viewing. It's basically through like a transformational journey when they can use binaural frequencies to basically understand the other dimensions and to understand even telepathy. All the people that came into my workshops, they can connect to each other, telepathically speaking. Nobody would
Yeah.
have even guessed it when they first arrived. Most of these people come and they said, we don't know what to expect. And then they
Yeah.
leave on a mission. They become star seeds, fully awake star seeds who live on a mission, ready to help humanity and ready to help the earth. That's an amazing outcome, and I feel very privileged to have met all these people who kind of see me as a guide. I'm not a guru, I'm not a teacher. I'm just there to help them in that process because I went through
Yeah.
that process, but I never received the help. I never received the help on how to protect myself, on how to basically heal myself. This was all natural to me. It came to me and I had to learn it the hard way. So if I had the guidance, if I had the help, I got trained in remote viewing, but I already had the gift already in me. I already knew how to remote view. I was able to harness the ability in a much better, fashion. So I was more focused. So I'm helping those people to achieve that result, and then now they can do it by themselves. Many
Mm.
people came to my workshops trying to do those kind of workshops in their own country. So it's about spreading the knowledge and
Yeah.
helping more and more people. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm barely making means with those kind of workshops, but I made enough money in my business that I can rely on that to survive and live. I don't need to make money off those workshops, but I do. I have to cover my expenses still, but I'm not really making it for the money. I'm not doing it for the money, that's for sure.
Your story is like a movie, you know?
Yeah, it's like a mini movie. It sounds like science fiction for most people because I went through so much. I wrote a book about it, like Inner Journey in Outer Space, which is available on Amazon. You can buy it in French, Spanish,
Yeah.
Italian, and English. And that story again is years of experiences trapped into a small book. So obviously, it sounds like a lot when you read it or when you listen to me, but it took me years to go through all of these experiences. So
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
it doesn't happen all at once, but I have experienced a lot for sure. Yes.
I want to read it as soon as possible. So let's continue about the message you get on your remote viewing about 3i Atlas. What could the message "we are here to unite the stars" mean? And also, what do you feel now about this
Mhm.
message?
Yes. So I was like starting telling you about the attack on the sun
Yeah.
and also on the Galactic Federation or the SSP. What happened that day on November 8th? So the original message was, we're here to gather the star seeds of his planet. And that was a message that was sent to CERN. So back in September, I received and I was able to communicate with a scientist from CERN, who was actually saw the portal opening up in that facility. And they saw the occupants of 3 Atlas showing up as holograms. So they were not in physical form. When CERN opened up that portal, they did that
Mm.
by accident. And the first event that occurred at CERN, when they opened up the portal, it's basically like a fissure through space and time that they created. And that allowed spheres to come out. So a lot of these spheres came out of CERN and went through the walls. They completely dematerialized. And you can see that through the Age of Disclosure documentary. If you watched it, you can see those crafts entering the water, diving into the ocean, and coming out without making a splash. And that's because they can distort space and time. And so the space around them is not managed by our dimension. So they are trapped within their own bubble, within their own space and time dimension, using basically free energy. So they are not using propulsion systems. They are using quantum entanglements, and they are basically literally bypassing our dimension to dematerialize or without making a splash within the molecules of water. So that's why they can just go at the speed of light if they want to, without being affected from it on the inside. So that's what those spheres that came out of CERN, they dematerialized because the walls or the concrete walls mean nothing to them. It's matter that doesn't exist in their space. So they basically went through the walls and they reappeared in New Jersey, in America. So at some point in time, you remember the story about those drones that were finding and seen all over New Jersey and Virginia. The army got really freaked out by that because they shut down airports and everything else, and also because of the nuclear facilities and the army facilities that they had around that. The CIA, obviously, their headquarters was in Virginia. All of these places were targeted by those spheres as observers. And so some of them were like 6 feet in diameter. They were pretty large. The army shot at them. None of this went in the media. None of that was known to the public. But they were shooting at them and they were ricocheting on those spheres. It was not even making a dent because they were trapped within their own dimension. So same thing happened with the UFOs that were seen when the Navy was shooting at them with missiles. And the missile basically just almost like split up in two and deviated, did not even make a dent with the UFO. It didn't affect it, but it went towards it, almost trying to hit it, but hit the energy field around the UFO and then just went sideways. Something happened with the spheres, seen in New Jersey and Virginia. But again, none of that went into the media. And that was the first event that occurred with CERN. And then the second one was seeing those ETs that came through the portals physically. And they did an exchange with the local scientists. They gave them gifts
When?
to show them, oh, that was like 2 years ago, 5 years ago. It's been around for a long time. So they kept the fissure in time and space open because they could not close it. So they shut down their facilities for a while. In the media, it says like they were doing upgrades, but it was not upgrades. They were trying to consolidate this area and they were trying to compartmentalize the area where the portal opened. So they were able to now have boarding rooms, like boardrooms, where they could actually interact with those beings showing up through the portals. It became an access point for the secret space program. You have to realize that the secret space program, being international, can access any departments. They have an office space on NASA, in the headquarters of NASA. So they have office spaces everywhere. All their agents can go freely to any top secret facilities around the planet, regardless of the country. That's how powerful they are. And the leaders allow them to go through. They're not spies for America going to Russia or China. Chinese and Russian personnel also work for the SSB. So it's a very, very different mentality when you have the geopolitical orders for each nation with their basically their concerns over threats from one nation. None of these nations can use those reverse engineer technologies against other nations. That's the main parameter that the Galactic Federation established with the SSP and all of these countries. That's the reason why the people in power, all of these elected officials, they're not knowing of these organizations and technologies because they are only there for a short period of time. They are not career officers who are there for 30 years. So those who are working for the SSP do not report to the director of CIA. They do not report to the director of the FBI, and they certainly do not report to their leaders. People working for the SSP and the Galactic Federation are not hired based on their ranks. They are hired based on their abilities. So I am a civilian. I'm not military, but I got involved in the SSP because of my abilities and then my ability to work with other people and save lives and help. That's how I got involved. And what you have to realize is within those agencies, some are completely dead against sharing information, and some who are pro disclosure, which are the
Yeah.
people that I'm in touch with. So I know people who basically said, what you're doing here is wrong. You should not be doing that. And I could be threatened. My life could be threatened. But there are other people within those agencies who are saying to me, we back you up. You are 100% supported. You can disclose this and that and that. And that's what I've been doing all these years. What you have to realize is, since I've been doing remote viewing for many
Yeah.
years, I was not even allowed to talk to Gaia TV. I have the friend who was producers at Gaia TV. He kept asking me to come on board, and I had to turn him down for 6 years because I could not talk about it. And then
Oh.
all of a sudden, he approached me and said, we have a Green Beret guy who basically was a soldier, and he was dispatched to retrieve the Stargates in Syria. And the guy was on site, mentioned me because I was the remote viewer helping those guys going to Syria and finding those targets. So now there was a link between the people on the ground and the people behind the scene. So Gaia TV was knowing this, being aware of whatever I was saying to Sid Goldberg at Gaia TV was genuine because my information became real. They were able to validate it and confirm it. And so when I first came to Gaia TV, I recorded 4 episodes. Nothing was live. And so they were saying to me at the end, say, well, if we cannot confirm your credentials, these episodes won't air because they've been burned before with the likes of Corey Good, who was actually mentioning that he was part of the secret space program, and it ended up in a lawsuit between them, and it was very dramatic. So that really destroyed their reputation, and so because of that, they've learned from those mistakes, and they were trying to cover their tracks for saying if we have to make public your statements about whatever you've been doing, we need to verify your credentials. And that's how they were able to support me in that process. When I basically saw 3 Atlas, I
Uh-huh.
saw those Draco reptilians, I saw the genuine threat. And so to me, it was very concerning. At the time, the people in charge were also accessing what's called the looking glass technology. So they were able to see potential timelines and through those technologies owned by the CIA. And
Mhm.
while they were observing what I was describing, they were confident that they were able to control the situation and neutralize 3 Atlas. So they trusted their fleet from the SSP to go and destroy it, and they tried to do it twice. Before 3 Atlas reached perihelion behind the sun, they tried to destroy it twice by bombarding it with their own missiles, with no dents whatsoever and no response from 3 Atlas, none. No change in course, no deviation whatsoever, but they tried to hit it once without success. Then they sent another spaceship that was a few miles big, and it left from Earth, completely cloaked. No one ever saw it. I saw the images of it, and it went towards 3 Atlas. It looked like a massive, elongated, oval-shaped craft that left
Yeah.
Earth. It was a few miles long, almost as big as 3 Atlas, and he went towards the sun and bombed the sun, the opposite side of the sun, that created those plasma jets from the sun towards 3 Atlas, hoping that the sun would be able to destroy it. And the plasma jets basically wrapped around itself like this towards 3 Atlas. It did nothing. It went right through it like it didn't exist. So the energy of the sun was not sufficient enough. And so that's when they started to panic. And I could hear it in their voices. when they were speaking to me. Now they were more alarmed. At first, they were so confident, like typical, like American, cavalry coming
Yeah.
in. We are ready for action. And then when their plans did not succeed, they were like, oh, what are we doing now? They were really panicked. And so they scouted it to find out what was his next move. And then when 3 Atlas decided to send those plasma jets towards the sun and towards the Galactic Federation, they were doing that on purpose to create havoc on Earth. The plan was to send multiple CMEs, so the coronal mass ejections, that's the term for CMEs as an acronym, to send it towards Earth and then creating a blackout for months, maybe a year, on the entire Earth. So they were ejecting those plasma jets towards the sun. They created
Yeah.
black spots on the sun, and there were 3 CMEs that came towards Earth. There should have been way more than that. But when that happened, it created aurora borealis only instead of the hurricane or the cannibal CMEs. And the reason why it did not happen is because the US government has a technology called HAARP. And that's a technology that they have in Alaska. And they can use this technology to change the frequency of Earth with a Schumann resonance. So they send
Yeah.
off a signal basically to the ionosphere, and the signal went back down to Earth. And when it hit Earth, they had no idea where it was going to land because they cannot control that. They cannot
Yeah.
control its direction. And guess where it ended up? In Mexico. And on that day, November 11th, at 11:11 p.m. exactly, that's when it happened. Yep, you can look it up online. There were many posts and videos on that event. The sky turned red, and there were massive blackouts in all of the major cities like Guadalajara, Tijuana, Pueblo. All of these places got hit by that CMEs at the same time. Oh, sorry, that HARP, hit on that
Yeah.
day at that specific
In
time
Mexico, huh?
in Mexico.
Mhm.
Yes, and so when that happened, it changed the Schumann resonance of Earth by sending those CMEs towards Earth. It should have disrupted the Schumann resonance to make it spike so high that it would have created some major, Earth issues, like, for
Yeah.
example, tsunamis, earthquakes, you name it. But none of that happened because, as a countermeasure, HARP was used to save Earth and to
Oh,
quiet down the Schumann resonance on that day. And that's the reason why we saw aurora borealis around that time.
oh my God.
So,
But
so
we sorry, but we generally think about heart. It
as a
is a
negative.
threat for Earth, you know?
Yeah,
We
I
think
know.
like that. But it
Yes.
is not, huh? Oh my God.
No. It's they use it as, I mean, I don't know what they do outside of this, but on that specific day, for that specific use, that's how HARP got used.
Oh my God.
And so on November 12th, the aurora borealis, showed up in many places. So this was the effects of HARP, not the aurora borealis from the CMEs. The effects of that got minimized, and many places around the planet did not suffer from blackouts. So we are safe from that. But the Draco reptilians want to use that as a way to distract us. So if we had like international disasters, you can imagine they would have used the FEMA camps. Like all the FEMA would have been there to help people, with their food, water. People basically were so lost because they would have lost everything. They would have not been able to remain in their homes. Nobody would have been prepared. So that was the main distraction that 3 Atlas was looking for to invade Earth. And so their plans got disrupted. And so at the same time that those plasma jets were sent to the sun and to the Galactic Federation, the Galactic Alliance was nearby, disabled 3 Atlas at the same time. They are the ones where she countermeasured the attacks from the Draco reptilians to disable it and neutralize the craft. And they ordered the Draco reptilians to leave the ship, all 5 million of them. So many of them were able to portal. So now, this is the next question that most people have: is why is Triatlas arriving so slowly towards Earth? Even Avi Loeb said it might be the spaceship that emitted a wow signal from space
Yeah.
because it was like 8 degrees away from Triatlas trajectory. None of that is true. The thing is that spacecraft came from the Draco constellation. If you look it up yourself online, you'll see that 3 Atlas came from the Draco constellation. And that's just math. You can just look it up online yourself. But
Oh
no
my
one
God.
talks about this. No one talks about that. So
But everybody knows. Oh my God.
everybody knows, of course. But no one would just put two and two together. And then at the same time, the spacecraft was designed to sustain like regular attacks from the Galactic Federation, from the SSP, but not from the Galactic Alliance, because they had access to technologies that were not given to Earth. And some of these technologies are very powerful. And so they are the ones in control. They are the ones who now control 3 Atlas. And the direct reptilians were ordered to leave. And so the spaceship, when it came, uh, took its time, still traveling at like 160,000 kilometers an hour, but it's still slow. It's not like, portaling from one place to another. And the reason they are doing that is because they want to use that as an excuse to invade Earth, as saying, well, just a comet flying through space and coming slowly towards Earth. And so you can observe us as a interdimensional object. But the interstellar value of that was part of the surprise from the Draco reptilians. They didn't want to appear as a spaceship all of a sudden because they knew that one, the Galactic Alliance was aware of them. And so once they became basically seen by the international community on Earth and the people through all of these viral videos that came out, the awareness and consciousness changed. The value of consciousness changed on Earth just through that event alone. And nobody realizes that. Just the idea of being aware that this could be a potential alien craft, regardless of its origin, changed the surprise attack from the Draco Reptilian. And they got really mad at that.
Oh my God.
So that's the reason why they had to change their plans. So the original messages that they sent out to NSA, to CERN, were about, we're here to gather the star seeds. For them, they thought, we're here to help them out. We're here to raise them up. No, the idea was for them to kill them because they became a threat to their own existence, because we're all powered by source light energy and they hate it. They absolutely despise it and are very fearful of that, because this is also a basis for their destruction. They don't want to be all enlightened. They don't care about enlightenment. All they care about is destruction, minimizing the size of the universe, and control. It's about control and power, which is what they've already achieved on Earth through the use of media, politics, all of that. They have a massive influence over the world media and the world leaders because of their way of deception. They were able to infiltrate all the secret societies through their exercises
Yeah.
and through the cabal. They came up with Baphomet. Baphomet is a 100% direct reptilians creation. So that god that those secret societies revere and are willing to sacrifice children and drink blood that's pure, blah blah, all of these things, this is all designed by the dark agenda. That's all
Yeah.
from the direct reptilians, because they are deceiving them and they are promising them longevity through immortality, through psychic powers, through many things. And so those people they crave power, they crave control, they want to make more money off this. So all of these beings, all of these people in charge also got deceived. So when 3 Atlas made the decisions to unleash their power towards the sun and Earth and damage the Earth, they got deceived in the process because all of their promised hopes got banished. And now they are becoming more aware of what's happening to them, thinking we won't be promised longevity and immortality anymore because we were deceived too. And so now those people in power, I'm talking about even like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all of these big families, now they're now diversifying their wealth. They used to be like all about oil and gas. Now they know that the threat of awakening And this is all timely. You have to realize something. All of this doesn't happen randomly. It happens for a reason on that date. Because we are now in the process of full awakening on Earth. By doing so, the use of new technology, destroying old dogmas on Earth, raising consciousness, all of this is linked to our human evolution.
Yeah.
Being more aware of our origins, remembering who we are. All of this is a massive threat to the direct reptilians because we are the origins of all of these species around the universe. We are the ancestors of the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, the Lyrians. All of these species are from Earth. We are them. And it's a paradoxal time loop that has existed for a long time because what happened was when they decided to engineer us, they genetically engineered humanity for a long time, and they made many, many attempts. All of the chimeras, the giants, the Lemurians, all of these beings on Earth that existed at some point in time were all genetic manipulations from ETs over time. And now we are the origin of all of these species. We are the final genetic manipulation before ascension or before evolving towards these higher dimensions. Because we've learned all we need to learn without the mistakes that all of these species made with us or our ancestors in the past. The Lemurians got destroyed not because of global warming or because the the tsunamis or whatever. They got destroyed by the Pleiadians because they decided to do their own bidding by going to space without the blessing of the Galactic Alliance.
Oh.
They were not listening to the order of the laws of the universe. They said, we are on our own now. We are greedy and we can do whatever we want because we have the power. And so that's why they got destroyed, nothing else. It was a mistake. It was something that they gave them too much power that
Yeah.
they became super greedy over it and controlling. And that's exactly why we are not being disclosed all the stuff that these aliens know about because they've learned from their own mistakes. And that's why we have to take in on the information slowly and gradually so we don't become overzealous. Our psyche, our consciousness has to rise at the same time as the introductions of all these technologies. Otherwise, we will not be ready as a society to reach the next steps of new societal order, the new era, destroying all the dogmas from science and embracing zero-point energy, embracing a new way of trading without the use of the fiat currencies or even the use of gold. None of that matters in the highest levels of consciousness and the higher dimensions. So once we actually embrace the idea of this and we can make peace with the past for saying now we are basically who we are today based on what we've learned. It doesn't matter what we shed and what we leave behind. It's what we become next.
Yeah.
What I want to say about the Atlas and to say where I got wrong, I saw through Atlas, I saw the invasion of the direct reptilians on Earth. I saw the wrong timeline. I got deceived too. The CIA got deceived as much because they received the same information from the looking glass technology. They saw that timeline only. They didn't see any other timelines. So they treated it as a threat because of what I saw, but also based on what they saw themselves. And I couldn't see any other timelines until the Galactic Alliance changed our timeline unexpectedly. So we are now on a new timeline. We don't know, but we are on a completely new timeline today than we were back in November. And no one has realized this.
Oh my
So
God.
this is the beauty of the whole thing is now we are on a different trajectory that is completely new and changed forever from the Galactic Alliance and from their actions for basically interfering with destiny. They've never done that before for Earth, ever. This was the
Yeah.
first time that they decided to interact, trying to protect us, when in fact they were not supposed to be interacting. They never tried to interact with anybody or try to change plans. That was the role of the Galactic Federation. But they also knew that their own existence was thanks to us. If we got destroyed, they would have no future. So they had to interact. They had to act on their plans to save us for the first time ever. So this
Thanks
is what
God.
happened then. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, can we say that all these species in the universe respect to Galactic Alliance and also Galactic Federation?
Yeah, I mean, the Galactic Federation comprised of people originally from the Galactic Alliance. Not all of them, but some of
Yeah.
them do work with the SSP. But you have to realize another thing. The Galactic Federation is in charge of the SSP. They're in charge of the Men in Black. They're in charge of the potential abductions. They're in charge of the hybridization of species on Earth, because the people, the human beings, are not the ones in charge. You could be a general. You could be anybody on Earth. No one, as the human being, is in charge. They collaborate with the Galactic Federation, but they're not the ones in charge. The ETs are. That's another thing that lots of leaders will have a hard time to swallow, because it's the reality of Earth. Is we are being controlled by the ETs, but not in a bad way. They're there to protect us. They're there to evolve us and help us. But the Galactic Alliance have their own agenda. You have to realize that they are the ones who manipulated us in the first place to learn from us. We are just an experiment for them. You know,
Yeah.
out of many other planets around the universe, they are learning from all of these beings at different rates. So we're only just a fraction of the truth out there. You know, basically, they are learning from so many different species, and there are so many different timelines that they are learning from. Because what you have to realize also is, even from the Galactic Federation standpoint, is when the human beings who are working for those organizations are not like you and I. I mean, maybe like me, but not like you. Like they will be trained. They will be trained to interact with those beings. And the reason why is, when I remote view, for example, I'm 100% neutral. It doesn't matter what I see. I don't get emotional over what I'm seeing. I'm emotional after the facts, when the session is over. Then that's when I'm flooded with a bunch of emotions and conflicting, realities, because what I'm seeing is so disturbing sometimes. But at the moment when I'm doing the session, I'm just an observer. I'm observing what happens on a neutral basis, and I'm just reporting it back. That's what I do. And so when you interact with those ETs, they're expecting you to remain neutral. So whatever you think becomes reality in their dimension, and sometimes it could hurt them. So whatever thought processes we have, if we cannot control our monkey brain, then we hurt them. And that's the reason why they can't interact with us one-on-one. So they can do it through like they can basically just send an hologram to see you, but very rarely would they actually show up physically, because we're not ready for an actual interaction one-on-one. When Zoe came to my living room in 2011, he was not there physically. He appeared physical to me because I could not understand what he was, but it was an hologram, and he vanished like an hologram, like in a wave. There was like a blue glow of energy around him, but he was not there physically. It had an effect on me. I was like paralyzed. I was looking at him and I couldn't move. And he was talking to me telepathically, but he wasn't there physically. So if he was there physically, I'm pretty sure my body would have reacted very differently, because one, whatever I was thinking, I had so many thoughts in my head at the
Yeah.
time that could have affected him, because they are higher dimensional beings. So that's why those realities could be very detrimental to their evolution. And so they want us to truly understand that in order for us to have a proper interaction, we need to evolve from this 3D dimension into higher dimensions. We have to be aware. We have to be more conscious. And that's exactly the awakening process. That's what we have to go through before learning more from them. And that's why we have this gradual disclosure.
So, 3i Atlas is not a threat for Earth, we can say,
It's no
actually, huh?
longer it's no longer a threat to Earth, and the reason why it's still acting like a comet is because the Galactic Alliance didn't want to change its course. They could have done that. They could have made it disappear if they wanted to, but they wanted to make sure that it was still following through the path of its regular
Yes.
trajectory without disturbing Earth, without disturbing our comprehension of, oh no, this is an alien spaceship all of a sudden, and now we're all panicking because we're not prepared, because we're not advanced enough to cope with this reality still. So that's why they are doing that on purpose, not because they could do it, and not because it's just a comet, but they still want to make it look like a comet because of that.
Yeah, but do you think any other attempts come again in the future from them or
Yes.
from
So
Draco's
yeah. So
reptilians?
the downside, without creating fear mongering in your audience, I have to say that the reality of them coming back is very clear. That I was told that they would try to come back by next year.
Oh my
As
God.
you know, how right now there are two crafts that are flying or about to enter our solar system in
Yeah.
2026. NASA knows about this. They already know about this, and these two crafts are following the exact same trajectory as 3i Atlas, also coming from the Draco constellation. They
Yeah.
are flying in tandem, side by side. Now, what is the possibility or the probability of that? I'm sure Professor Loeb will have a blast with those kind of objects coming in. This is exactly why people and why the Galactic Alliance reacted when they did in November 8th, is because they know that this is not the end of it, and that they
Yeah.
had to act now on that craft because more are coming and more are trying to infiltrate our space and potentially trying to invade Earth if that's their goal. But now we know that we have the help from the Galactic Alliance. Battles occurred in the past, or basically what we consider our past. It's not our past, it's actually our future, but that's their past to them. They basically saw many stars and planets destroyed by the Draco reptilians. So they're fully aware of what they are capable of doing. They are very powerful. They have many allies. They are the equivalent of the demons that the Catholic Church has been using. All of these entities and negative entities are from the Draco reptilians. And so they kind of turned it into some metaphysical component of heaven and
Yeah.
earth and heaven and hell. That's all creation by man, but the reality of those entities and the real impact that they have on earth would be major, because they certainly have a way in through our 3D reality. And that's exactly why they've been portraying themselves as like Baphomet and other gods or false gods to deceive the people. So all you hear from the Bible, for example, about or even the Quran and other religious books, you have all of these mentions of evil entities like the jinns and all of that. All of this is from the Draco
Yeah.
reptilians, and that's the reason why they are so negative.
Oh my God.